Hey everyone, and welcome back to Battleborn. I've got an update for Dragón's KO Rápido build for you, and since I made the original build, Dragón has been hit really hard with the nerf bat. So his damage has been lowered, his attack range on his claps has been lowered, his health has been lowered, and the duration of the stun you get from his ultimate has been lowered. So he's a far cry from his former glory, but he can still be a viable pick if you know what you're doing. He's just not going to shred people like he used to. So you got to be a lot more opportunistic. You got to know when you can engage and when you need to stay back or flee. And you can still use him to great effect. So on this video, we're going to be talking about his abilities, his Helix choices, and the gear I like to bring for the build. So first up, we've got his passive, Undisputed Champ. Each enemy killed boosts Dragón's primary melee combo damage by 1.5%. to a maximum of 10 stacks. Half of the stacks are lost on death. So whenever you can, you want to kill things. Shard clusters, buildables, minions, whatever you can get your hands on. Because without those stacks, you are not going to be very viable on the field. It's just, he needs those stacks now. Before it was a nice bonus. He absolutely needs his stacks now. And at level 5, we're going to augment this so the stacks also give you 3% damage reduction per stack. So you can get up to 30% damage reduction, and trust me, he needs it. He's so squishy. Alright, next up we've got his weapon, the RBX Cybernetic Arms. Dragón's primary melee combo is a flurry of blows, while his secondary is a powerful clap. Activating his offhand melee while sprinting executes a dropkick. So his melee combo is self-explanatory. The clap, his secondary, is pretty much useless until we augment it, and then it's your slightly larger range attack. So if you're trying to AoE, or if something's just a little bit out of your melee range, you can clap it down. And the dropkick is pretty much worthless throughout. We are going to augment that as well, but it's still very situational. I pretty much never bust it out. So, speaking of augments, at level 3, we're going to augment the clap like I was talking about. We're going to make it slightly ranged. It's going to be an AoE attack, and it's going to have double the range of your normal melee. It used to be about triple, but it's about double now. And at level 8, we're going to augment the dropkick. So anything you dropkick is going to take 16% extra damage for 8 seconds, and I believe that's from all sources, but it's really rare that you use the dropkick on someone. But if that's your style, you could certainly engage with the dropkick and get that damage amplification on them. Alright, next up we've got the Clothesline. Dragón charges forward with his arms outstretched, dealing 167 damage to enemies. If you've got your ultimate active, which is In Fuego, a powerful forward leap dealing massive damage to one enemy. So this is your initiator and your escape. So at lower levels, it's pretty much used exclusively for escaping. And then once you hit about level 4, we're going to use it to initiate. So at level 1, we are going to augment Clothesline to slow any enemies we hit with it for 3 seconds. So you want to hit them with your Clothesline, get them slowed, and then cancel it and start beating on them. At level 4, when you cancel your Clothesline, it's going to knock enemies up into the air. So if you're using this correctly, you want to hit them with the Clothesline, immediately cancel them, or immediately cancel it, throw them up into the air, and then they'll have the slow still active when they hit the ground. And then at level 9, we're going to make it so all the damage we do with Clothesline gives us 100% lifesteal. So any damage we do, we're going to get back as health. And that counts from the Clothesline hitting an enemy and from canceling it and doing the knockup. So you can get a ton of health by clotheslining into a minion wave or a large group of enemies. Alright, next up we've got Dragon. Oh, and Clothesline has an 18-second cooldown. So next up, we've got Dragon Splash, which is on a 16-second cooldown. Dragón leaps into the air and falls back down, dealing 200 damage to nearby enemies. If you're in Fuego, it stuns all enemies damaged, and that stun is about 1 second. It used to be about 2 seconds, so they cut it in half. So at level 2, we're going to augment it, so it's going to do 200 damage over 6 seconds to an area. And I believe they lowered the area of that attack as well. It seems much smaller than it used to be. So either way, you're going to have damage over time in that area. At level 6, we're going to make it so whenever we Dragon Splash, as soon as we're finished, for 6 seconds, we're going to get 20% attack speed boost to our melee combo. And at level 7, we're going to make the area of the Dragon Splash 50% larger. Alright, and finally, we've got his ultimate, In Fuego. It's on a 60-second cooldown. El Dragón explodes, dealing 56 damage to nearby enemies. For 10 seconds, El Dragón's attacks and skills take on additional properties. So, there's a really nice combo with this. It used to be the best combo, and you would want to use it at all times, but it's kind of, that situation's kind of changed a little bit, but the combo that's really good is to run in Clothesline, get the target or targets slowed, cancel to shoot them up in the air. While they're in the air, you activate In Fuego, which is going to do its damage to them, and then you do a Dragon Splash on top of them to stun them and to do the damage over time from the AoE field. Now before all his nerfs, if you got off that combo, pretty much whoever it was is dead. But that's not the case anymore. It's still a good combo, but it's not a guaranteed kill like before. So that means you may or may not want to use it. It really depends on the team you're fighting against. If they're really good at shutting you down, that combo is gonna waste precious seconds for you. So you might be better off doing an In Fuego where they can't see you, and then clotheslining in and following that up with a Dragon Splash, or simply running in and Dragon Splashing to make sure you get that stun in. So depending on the enemies I'm facing, I'll take different approaches with the ultimate. So it's not as simple as it used to be. You've got to think about how you want to use it and how the enemies have been handling you thus far. So anyways, at level 10, we're going to augment In Fuego to, when you activate it, it's going to put a ring around you, like a boxing ring, and entering or exiting that ring is going to do 133 damage to the enemy. So it's just a little extra damage, which is nice, because you need all the extra damage you can get now. Alright, so those are his abilities. Let's go over to the Helix. I already explained to you the Helix choices I make, but we're going to quickly go over all of them. So level 1, we take the slow on Clothesline like we talked about. You can also go up the middle with Untouchable. That gives you damage reduction while you're clotheslining. But Clothesline doesn't last very long, so even though 30% damage reduction is nice, it doesn't last long enough to be worth it as far as I'm concerned. And on the right is an interesting choice. You can make it so your Dragon Splash weakens all the enemies it hits to reduce their damage by 30% for 8 seconds. It's a viable choice. Not one I take, but I could definitely see its uses. So personal preference there. Level 2, we go to the left for splash damage. That gives us the damage over time on our Dragon Splash. You could also go to the right and make it so each target you hit with Dragon Splash increases your movement speed and the cooldown of the ability by 10% for each enemy you hit. Although I've heard that this is really buggy. I haven't actually tested it that much. I'd much prefer to have the damage over time, but that is an option, assuming it works. If it's not going to work, it's not really worth it. Level 3, we go to the left, making the Clap a ranged ability that does AoE. And if you can go to the right with Power Fist, to me it feels like it slows down your melee combo and reduces your DPS. So I advise not taking that, but it does add a little bit of a lunge to it. So if you want a small gap closer, that might help you out to chase people. But he's so squishy, if you're not getting the job done really fast, you're dead anyway. So I highly recommend going to the left. Level 4, we go with Flailing Fist, so when we cancel Clothesline, it knocks people into the air. You can also go with Rope-a-Dope. While in Clothesline Sprint, hitting a wall or canceling the dash turns El Dragón around, allowing for a second dash. I've never really found much of a use for this, and Clothesline can be a little wonky, so I don't really like using it in that fashion. It goes off course more often than not, so I don't particularly find that Helix choice to be worth it. Level 5, in my opinion, you've got to go to the left and get the damage reduction for each stack you have, for 3% per stack up to 30%. You can go up the middle, increase your skill damage by 1.5% a stack. Very risky. I think you need the damage reduction, but it's an option. And you can also go with a welterweight to increase your movement speed for each stack. This is the option I used to take on the old build, but since this changes, I need that extra damage reduction. So that's what I go with, but I suppose any of these are viable options. Alright, level 6, we go up the middle with Unstoppable. That gives us the attack speed increase to our melee attacks for 6 seconds after Dragon Splashing. You can go to the left, which will cause your shields to recharge and gives you some health regen every time you use Dragon Splash. I don't particularly find that useful because I just always get hit like right away when I Dragon Splash, so I never actually get that shield back. It just starts regenerating and instantly gets canceled when I try. So I don't recommend that. And you can also increase Clothesline damage by 15%, but I don't think the damage on it is that great to begin with, so I don't like that choice either. So that's why I like to go up the middle. Level 7, we go to the right and increase Dragon Splash area of effect by 50%. It's so small now, you've got to get that increase to have any sort of consistency in catching multiple targets. So that's why I take it. If you're somehow incredibly good at landing it with its super small radius, you could reduce Dragon Splash's cooldown by 20% if you go to the left. Level 8, I go to the right to get damage amplification debuff on enemies I hit with Dropkick. Like I said earlier, I pretty much never use it, but it's better than the other options as far as I'm concerned. Up the middle gives Dropkick, it turns it into a bicycle kick, which I haven't found much of a use for. It just looks really funny. So if you want something that looks funny, you could go with that. There's also the left choice, which returns all health damage dealt by Eldragon's Dropkick attack. It doesn't do much damage, so having lifesteal on it isn't really effective. If I'm gonna use it, I'd much rather debuff the enemy. Level 9, we go with the lifesteal. This one is amazing. I said earlier, it's great for sustain. If you want to dive onto a minion wave or a bunch of enemies, it's going to get you back up to full health. It's really, really good. The left choice, each target hit with Clothesline reduces the skill's cooldown. I don't find really useful because I'm usually focusing on one target, and I'm not normally hitting them with Clothesline directly. Now, I don't know if it counts for the stomp. I honestly haven't tested it much because Lifeline is just that good. So that's my recommendation. But you could always play with the left if you wanted to. And then finally, level 10, we go to the left to add the ring of damage around our ultimate activation area. It's decent. It's a little extra damage. I have, from time to time since the recent changes, gone up the middle for Unquenchable, adding 720 damage over 6 seconds to my Clothesline when I have Infuego active. Depending on how the match is playing out, I sometimes go with that because it's really nice damage. And on some matches, I'm engaging with Clothesline Infuegoed, so I can definitely put that to use. It's definitely a good option. The one I never go with is Dragonfire on the right. It turns your clap attack into a fireball ranged attack. It doesn't do much damage. I don't really find it to be worth it, and you give up your AoE, so I don't like it. I'd much rather have clap stay as my medium ranged AoE option. So I don't like the Dragonfire, but I have heard some people do. But not me. Not me at all. Okay, those are the Helix choices I make. Let's go over to the gear. As usual, I've got an Incursion and Meltdown set, a face-off set, and a capture set. And these are the exact same sets I use for Caldarius. So first up for the Incursion and Meltdown sets, got Survivor's Regrowth Serum, 14 health regen per second, and an extra 7 if you survive for 3 minutes. We've got the Vow of Zealous Fury, attack speed, critical hit damage, and stacking attack speed every time you use a skill. And we've got the Symbiotic Gauntlet, attack damage, maximum health, and more attack damage based on your current health. So if you're at full health, you're gonna get the full 8.84% extra, and it'll just go down from there based on your current percentage. Okay, so next up we've got the face-off set. Once again, Survivor's Regrowth Serum. We've got a white attack speed item, and we've got a white attack damage item. And finally, for capture, we take the Artificial Vitae, 14 health regen per second, and once again, the white attack speed item and the white attack damage item. All right, so there you go. Those are my Helix choices and the gear I like to bring. And like I said, Dragón is not what he used to be. So don't be surprised if you run in there into a match and you get absolutely destroyed. That's exactly what happened to me. I used to be amazing with Dragón. Almost every single game I was racking up ridiculous amounts of kills, and I think the first game I played with him since the nerf, I got, I think it was like 3 and 10 was my kill death. It was bad. But with some practice, I learned, you know, when I could jump in and take advantage of his skills and contribute to the team and really be a team player with him, and my success with him increased dramatically. Now, he's still great at destroying uncoordinated groups. So if it's an uncoordinated group, you can just run right through them. But if you run against a coordinated group, then you're going to need to coordinate with your team. Otherwise, you're just going to be dying all over the place. So just keep that in mind. Over the next few days, I hope to get out some matches with the build so you can see how I approach it and deal with all of these nerfs. And hopefully that'll help you out. You can see the level progression and all of that. So anyways, look for those videos coming in the next few days. But that's going to do it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.